What's going on, guys? Good afternoon and happy Friday. I'm recording this here on a Friday, and today on the show, on the Chowdhury Show, I've got Antonio Vaughn. He's the guy companies call when they want to grow fast by spotting what everyone else misses. Antonio has mastered the art of marketing arbitrage, turning underpriced attention into big results. He's done it in real estate, he's done it in finance, tech, and more. Always building unfair advantage while everyone else is busy chasing trends. So Antonio, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Rafi. Glad to be here.
Absolutely. So Antonio, we connected a while back and I was really, really intrigued. I mean, pretty much everything you've shared with me about what you're doing, how you're using AI, how you're using automation, all these different things. I was like, this guy knows a lot, and you mentioned that you're running a consulting company of some type. So I was really, really curious. And I think we initially connected at some point when I was trying to learn some of these AI things and SQL and data migration, blah, blah, blah. So really super excited to have this conversation with you. So let's first rewind a little bit. What was your life like before you found your lane? Like, were there any struggles or setbacks that shaped how you operate today?
Yeah, actually, that's a great question. And it's just not me, it's just the entire the entire industry. Uh when Clayton Christensen basically wrote several books about innovation and disruption. And what's resulted in that, it's changed the industry. So like a while back, there was a time where the way we communicated was very different. There were less middlemen. There wasn't Googles or Facebooks or LinkedIn or Twitter or whatever. But
Right. I
technology,
remember those days. I'm
yeah.
old enough to remember those days.
So the technology has changed.
hmm
So the communication channels have been disrupted in good and bad ways, right?
Right.
So this challenge is, which is why I focused on marketing. I have a really big tech background.
Yeah.
So in the team, senior level. But the challenges that we faced ourselves as well as our clients was, you know, where our audience lived kept on changing, right? The networks were
Mhm.
evolving and changing, and how people communicated changing. So we're constantly learning how to adapt as well as other people to get in front of our audiences, right? And so that's been a challenge for everybody, including my own company. So that's why we got into marketing arbitrage, to overcome a lot of those challenges, because it's like you have very qualified people and talents,
Right.
teams, and you have opportunities, but there's all these middlemen redirecting that traffic to people that are paying them or to themselves. So if you don't know how to play that game, and there was a time where I did it and the team did it, as well as many of my clients, it becomes very, very frustrating and very challenging to grow your business, right? And so,
Right.
those are the things I've had to learn. Like yourself, you have to adapt to where the attention is, and now the attention is even more divided than it was in the past. There's Facebook
Yeah.
and there's Etsy and then there's Google, and then you have ChatGPT now and Gemini and DeepSeek and Microsoft Copilot. I mean, there's so many ways people's attention's divided, and knowing how to get in front of those people, either you pay people a lot of money like Google or Facebook, or you do it the way we do it, is you don't pay the gatekeepers. You find very creative, clever ways to get in front of your audience.
Mhm. That's very true. I would say I've noticed that as well, this shift, like there's so many, like you said, there's so many middlemen nowadays because there's so much like a business is so much more matrixed today just because we're more well connected, right? Globally, we're just simply way more connected. And so you have a lot of these people that are very specialized in a very niche area of
Right.
the space. So I do see that's I've thought about that as well, and that's become more and more nuanced as we've as
Mhm.
as technology gets more and more complicated and
Hmm.
more integrated, I feel like you're going to see a lot more of those very, very specialized people that only do that particular part that's part of a bigger chain. So I think it's a very good point that you made. So you, I believe there was when I was doing a little bit of research about you, you had a talk called Smart Money Plays, right? At some point, you gave a talk of some type, and
Right.
you mentioned, in that talk that you're using AI to bridge tech with real results. So can you walk us through like a recent campaign where AI uncovered something no human had ever seen? Human teams have never seen it. Like, how did you scale that?
So you're asking me how I've used AI in the team to bridge the gap with tech and get uh, results that they weren't able to get before, right?
Right. Something that AI helped you, like an insight or a campaign that AI helped you shape and create that.
Right. So there's platforms like eBay and Amazon, and there's small platforms. Everyone's trying to build a platform nowadays, right? You have the
Mhm.
producers, the sellers, and then you have the buyers, right? And um, that's a very tough problem to build a platform where you can get the buyers, the chicken and the egg, to want to do business with the sellers, and the sellers want to be on your platform, but it's hard to have both at the same time, right?
Mhm.
So with AI, it's made that a lot simpler to play that game. Before it was very expensive, very time consuming. It still is to get that equilibrium where you have enough suppliers that people want to do business on your platform, right?
Mhm.
And then you have enough demand that people suppliers want to be on your platform too, right?
Yeah.
So it's complex to balance the two, right? So sometimes you have more than the other, and then these people lose interest, and then you sometimes you have a lot of this, but not enough of this, and then these people lose interest. So how do you get both to balance? So we've used AI to solve that problem.
Mhm. Got it. So as someone who's so immersed with AI and you're using it in a capacity that I don't think most people are even aware of, even including myself,
Hmm.
what do you see as the future of all of this? Like AI is being used in so many different ways. And if we're talking about like personal use cases, right? Even for me, like recently I'll show you what I just got in the mail. These right here, they look like nice little glasses, but these are more than just little glasses to look cool. These are actually I believe they're Oakley. Yeah, Oakley Meta AI glasses. So these things
Okay.
are able to literally, when I put these things on, I can see, it sees everything I can see. It can
Hmm.
take a picture for me. It can record for me. It can access many apps on my phone. It can do actions on my behalf simply with a little voice prompt. All these things built into just this pair of glasses, right?
Right.
So this is only 2025, and we just started the whole ChatGPT and AI
Hmm.
revolution, so to speak. It's almost like 1990s, right? When the internet just starting. So
Right. Right.
what do you think about the future? Where do you think all of this is headed in terms of personal use cases of AI?
Well, since you're talking about the glasses, uh, I think that it's definitely an amazing learning tool, right? So with and so there's a company, and their name slipped my mind, but and they've had these virtual reality glasses, these AI glasses, where when you're reading about rocket engines or watching a video about it, right? With the AI glasses, you actually put your hands on the rocket engine and take the piece
Mm,
apart and unscrew it, and then figure out like how to fix it or how to put it back together correctly. And so I see AI as being a very immersive experience, uh,
mm,
learning, also in relationships, like right now we're on this flat screen video, right? So
right,
it's very two-dimensional. You're kind of like in this square and I'm in this square as well. But
right.
AI, when we're having a meeting, we don't have to have this experience. And it gets and the way we respond and the way we react, the way we, I guess, almost a bit like a hologram, but with the glasses on, right? Where it just we can see a lot more nonverbals, than just my
Mm.
hands moving or me
So, so,
talking.
so, so what I'm hearing you
It's
say is that in
immersive.
the near
Immersive.
future,
Yeah.
you think that we will basically these two-dimensional video formats will be taken over by VR video formats, where you and I would both be wearing these kind of glasses, right? which will be VR glasses, and you and I will interact as if we were in the room together using VR.
Yeah, then of course the movie theater experience is going to be way different too in the way we watch
Yeah.
movies. So now uh when we watch a movie, yes, our heartbeat's gonna we can cry in some movies, but the experience is going to be more intense with it with the glasses
Hmm.
on, right? It's going to be much more immersive where, some people will be warned that, if you have any health conditions,
Yeah.
watch it because you can start sweating. And have you ever been into any of those VR experiences, like a race car, and it feels like you're really in the race car, or
Yeah.
you're really in, wingsuit flying off a mountain, like base jumping, but you're not really doing it. There's a company in Utah, I think, called the Limitless or the Jump or something like that. And you
Hmm.
can actually experience like you have the wind and you can feel the ground and you're falling and
Hmm.
your heart's beating fast and so I think our learning experiences, our experiences of media,
Yep.
each other even remotely, even when we do remote work and how we lead teams and how we build relationships, it's going to be a much better um, deeper connection with people in a way
Yeah.
that you don't really have. And of course, what's even more interesting than that is right now we just have these backgrounds, and you have a background, and we have the experience that Zoom allows us to create with the AI and the VR. You're gonna have them allow you to create experiences and suggest things and how to maybe even facilitate so you can have more deliberate, intentional conversations so you can build much deeper relationships because the AIs can suggest how to build those deeper connections in a way that maybe people don't necessarily know, and maybe that can be good and bad, but at the same time you can be very, very present. That's what I'm getting to. You get really, really present with another person than me just
Right.
into a camera and then I kind of see you off the side, right? And
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, so it's going to be extremely immersive, deeper relationships, much better learning experiences in a way that wasn't possible before. And and I think we're going to have relationships that weren't possible before, creating amazing relationships, amazing experiences, amazing companies, turning amazing ideas that just would have never come to fruition without that VR allowing that interaction experience to happen on that level. So,
Yeah, no, for sure. It's what's funny, Antonio, is that the very first time I've ever had experience with VR, which I've only worn a VR glass like twice in my entire life. And the very first experience I ever had was in Nashville. I
right.
was in a mall, and
Hmm.
this was literally like 2016. We're talking 2015, 2016.
Hmm.
So long ago, like a decade ago. And Meta AI was there. At the time, I don't think it was even called Meta AI. I think it was just like Facebook AI or something. And I put on those Meta glasses, those AI glasses, and it was so interesting. Like in one of the scenes, I was just basically on a boat and I'm traveling through a somewhere in Thailand. I'm on a boat and someone's rowing the boat in front of me and I'm sitting in the back seat and I can literally look around and see the trees and the water. And then it switched me to a scene where I'm literally way back, like rewind back by 1,000 years, and I'm sitting in a traditional Chinese or something like that. Maybe not 1,000, but like maybe a couple hundred years back. I'm sitting in this Chinese in a room, a Chinese with a Chinese family, and they're having like their traditional singing, dancing going on, and they're eating and stuff like that. And I'm one of the people in the room, and it felt so real. And
Hmm.
imagine that's where we were back in 2016. How much further this progress is going to be once these things come into the everyday household. Like I'm already having one. I'm just an everyday person, right? I already have this thing. So you can
Hmm.
just imagine like when we all start using these tools and technologies, as you said, learning is going to change, right? Because when we're talking about learning, as many senses as we can associate with that material and that content, the deeper that learning is going to take place. So if you think of in IT, a lot of these concepts are so abstract, right? Like what is an ETL process? What is vertex? What are materialized tables versus table? These are just very abstract concepts. So imagine creating these three-dimensional structures and images and content to explain something where we're just like touching maybe a materialized table, right? So can you imagine like what that means for learning in the future?
Hmm. And not just learning externally, but also learning about ourselves too. So
Definitely, definitely. I believe I read the most recent book. It was Yuval Harari. He wrote the his recent book. I think it was uh 21 Lessons for 21st Century or something along those lines, where he talked about this AI revolution, and he said that we are becoming so reliant on AI these days
hmm
that you know, and we trust their intuition and their judgment and their advice so much that perhaps what we're not creating are just simple agents. But he said in the book, perhaps what we're creating are new gods. If you think about that, right? We're so dependent on AI. We go to ChatGPT and we do all these things and we ask it for advice on our health, on our personal lives, on business decisions. And this is just the beginning of the whole thing. We're just sitting in
right.
the beach playing with the sand. So imagine you fast forward 5, 10, 15, 20 years, how much more dependent we could possibly be on these AI tools. So Antonio, I want to kind of shift into a different direction. So you serve currently as the CEO of Silver Wisdom. Can you
Right.
tell us more about what is Silver Wisdom? What is the company all about? What is its mission? And what do you do with Silver Wisdom?
You know, that's a great question. And I think that the Silver Wisdom website, silverwisdomaisolutions.com,
Hmm.
explains a lot in a few words. And what we do is reduce uncertainty and unlock hidden opportunities. And
Okay.
and we do that by um, using AI as well as our business experience and tech experience to reduce the risk that companies take in bringing in new technology and disruptive technology into the organization. But we also not only help them reduce the uncertainty by managing the risk, but we also unlock use cases and opportunities in marketing, for example, for free attention or even very low price attention online,
Mm.
where in the past you've had to spend a lot of money to do that, right? So we actually wrote a book on that. It's not published, and you won't find any books on marketing arbitrage, is what it's called. And
Hmm.
because there's a lot of insider information and how people get attention. And so that's where unlocking hidden opportunities becomes really meaningful and powerful in your business. And not only just for your own business with your own data, because as you know, the other point of view to look at it is I have all this data, if I can just tap into this data, I can really, take this business to another level. That's very true. But also
Right.
other people's data too, that's online that you can unlock to create opportunities for your business. So yeah.
Wow.
And
Very cool.
that's what that means, and that means there's a lot of use cases that our senior team of engineers and businesses can help companies, basically, grow a little faster in ways that they didn't know was possible. Because, if you don't understand technology or you don't understand what's possible, then you only know what you know and you only know what you don't know. But a lot of
Right.
times it's scary to dwell in and move into the world of possibility, which is the new information. You don't know what you don't know, right? And so
Right.
company Silver Wisdom AI helps companies explore that area that's often uncomfortable and not always, it's not always the perfect timing to explore those areas, but there never is a perfect time to learn new information. It's just something that
Yeah.
it's a mindset, and organizations that are willing to grow and willing to be competitive, because if
Yeah.
not, then AI and the industries will change right before you. So
Right.
like I said, that's where the reducing uncertainty comes in. Is we help, through strategic consulting and management consulting, we help companies figure out those uncertain domains.
Got it. Antonio, I want to highlight and speak a little bit about your personal journey through all this. I think a lot of the people that are going to be watching this are people that are, some of them are maybe fresh college graduates, some of them are very seasoned IT professionals, and some people want to leave the corporate world altogether and do their own thing.
Right.
So have you always been an entrepreneur or did you work in the corporate world as well?
I worked in the corporate world as well. Yep. And so
Got
the
it.
yeah, so the journey is basically uh the corporate world's going through a lot of flux and the entrepreneurial world's going through a lot of flux. But ultimately, if you work in the corporate world or you're not working in the corporate world, what makes the difference in growing your business is not just, reducing uncertainty, unlocking hidden opportunities, but it's what Rafi and I are doing right now. And what we've done we're building relationships. And
Hmm.
those relationships matter a lot. You get introduced into new networks, you get you learn about opportunities that you would have maybe not the opportunities that you have in your mind. Oh, I have this beautiful idea, but it's not so much about your ideas, it's about what people need and want, right? And people introduce you to those people, and those people help oftentimes shape what your opportunities and what your uh you know what your success may look like in the future because of they help shape and mold you. So you have to be very coachable, but also open to learn from people like Rafi and people in your network, because everybody knows something that you don't know. And diving into those relationships and diving into those networks, and that's how what my journey's been like. And it's also how enrolling you are too with, like, that's how I got onto this podcast today, because Rafi, I influenced him. That's what I mean by enrolling. And so, your ability to influence people or create influence makes a difference in the opportunities that you have in the future. And
Yeah.
oftentimes it's understanding, them more than them understanding you, because it's them. These people are the ones that you're related. The people that you meet they have very much have needs. Is you know, how in tune, how well do you listen to them, but also what kind of value you create. I mean, how do you make them feel, when they're done talking to you or meeting with you? And that's when the doors open. It's your ability to influence, and some people are very,
Yeah.
very good at it. And if you're not good at it, getting better at it uh, is that skill is more valuable than how good you are at technology. So,
Yeah, no, for sure. I've seen this a lot, especially in the tech world, Antonio, is that a lot of really, really skilled people, they have amazing amounts of abilities, but their soft skills suck. And that's
mm,
what's keeping them from going to the next level. That's what's keeping
right,
them from making 400, 500, $600,000. Instead, they're stuck in a job making $200,000. I think sometimes, like no matter what kind of skill you have or what sort of thing, you're always going to be working with people
right,
ultimately, right? Like people are everywhere and relationships mean a lot. So that's
right,
something I've noticed. A lot of these really tech people, they're so used to just kind of working in their little tiny little box, right? They're just in there, they're just coding
right,
away, doing these things,
right,
but they don't focus on building some of those basic business skills and soft skills to be able to communicate and articulate what they know. And if you think about it, like, if you can't articulate what you know, it doesn't matter how much you know. You won't be able to communicate that with someone else. You won't be able to use that knowledge and that experience in order to make something happen. So I think you brought up a really interesting point is that, as IT professionals, as entrepreneurs, as business owners or corporate America people, we need to be constantly building relationships, telling stories, and having a story that we can share about our life as well. So that's
right.
that's that's very good. Very, very good point that you brought up. What I wanted to dig into, Antonio, is at some point, I'm assuming you made a shift. You made a shift from being in the corporate world to entrepreneurship, right?
Mhm.
What was that like? Was that easy? Was it something that you've always known you wanted to do?
Right. So it wasn't a shift from corporate world to entrepreneurship. It was more entrepreneurship to corporate to entrepreneurship to corporate to entrepreneurship
Okay.
to entrepreneurship. So, so basically, what's happened is it's really how how much do you dream, right? How well do you dream? Like, how can you dream big? And what makes it easier to shift from entrepreneurship to corporate than back and then stay in is being able to tell your story, being able to dream and really dream, don't putting any limits on your dream, and being able to envision and tell your dream and live your dream every day like it's already happened, right? And so that's to really truly make that shift from working for other people to working for yourself is willing to dream and also willing to share it with other people, right? Even if it's not even real. And that inspires people, it causes a transformation in them when you're able to be unreasonable and be extraordinary. Because a
Mm.
lot of people are very ordinary and very reasonable, and that's what it's like working in the corporate world. You know,
Yeah.
you're very you know, it's reasonable and ordinary in the corporate world, to you have to fit into their structure, right?
Right.
And also into their cadence, and you have to align with the organization. And that's a very
Yes.
reasonable thing to do. And if you don't align, you don't fit very well into it. And so when you're an
Right.
entrepreneur, you have to create something new and different. And you have to be unreasonable. And being unreasonable, for example, is doing things that you normally wouldn't do. And if you're not like willing to get on podcast, or you're not willing to doing things that you normally do, right?
Mhm.
Then that it's hard to live an extraordinary life and and to live that entrepreneurial life, because entrepreneurs are very unreasonable, and they
Yeah.
push the limits of themselves first, which then pushes the limits of the reality around them. And to be able to do that, you have to understand what that means. And
Right.
and what that means is, for example, I have a friend of mine, and she's late to everything. So being late is very reasonable for her. So I asked her, well, if you're gonna live an extraordinary life, you have to be unreasonable. So for her, being unreasonable is being on time to everything. So what I'm saying is, being unreasonable is you have to know yourself.
Right. You have to break your natural habits and tendencies and do
And, well,
something different.
and know your weaknesses, create
Mm.
breakthrough possibilities in your life that allow you to grow, which allow you to dream and allow you to think big. and
Yeah.
and also be big, showing up bigger, a bigger, more confident, more
Right.
visionary, more being. Oh, it's a way of being, and being this amazing, extraordinary person requires being unreasonable in the areas that you don't like to think about, or maybe your blind spots that are holding you back. And so knowing your
Yeah.
blind spots will help you get to the next level.
Yeah. Entrepreneurs don't really have a job description.
Right.
You have to be willing to do anything and everything. And in fact, I've seen like some of the most successful entrepreneurs that I personally know are people that are consistently and constantly doing things out of the normal. That
Mhm.
is literally what makes them be so good at what they're doing, is that they're constantly innovating. I think that's one of the part of the definition of entrepreneurship is creating a business and a new idea, right? Something that doesn't already exist, or a new spin to something.
Right, right. It's a new idea, new spin, but but there's a catch. The idea is not enough. You have to be able to impact the people around you to want to follow
Mm,
you. So there's different ways of being, um, you know, uh, that you have to be in order to take your idea, to make it real, and to get others to want to follow me. There's people with amazing ideas
yeah,
that, and they're brilliant, but they just don't have they can't show up in a way. It's almost like acting in a way, but it's not acting. It just becomes a part of who they are, that causes transformation, that causes people to want to listen and follow you, right? So
right.
innovation is a big part, and also strategy is a piece of it as well. But ultimately, is how you show up. How are you helping people around you? And it may nothing have
Mm,
nothing to do with your idea, nothing to do with you know, uh, you know, your vision. It's just, how are you being with the people around you? How are they receiving? Are they impacted by you? Or do they feel that you're being authentic, your real self? Do they feel like can they trust you? Can they feel vulnerable around? Can you be vulnerable with them? And that's what makes your ideas become reality, was you meet these people along the way that really believe in you, that have resources that you don't, and they help take your dreams and your career to a whole new level.
Wow. Yeah. You put it in a very nice way. That makes a lot of sense to me. And a lot of it is just, like you said, it's not just idea, but it's also how you execute on that idea. How
Hmm.
meticulously are you executing? I've noticed this is actually a thing that it's not so much about the idea as much as it's those little micro actions that you consistently keep taking. Like I've thought about this a lot recently, is that like, how much time should we really be spending on
Hmm.
strategizing and thinking and as opposed to just simply acting on something, seeing if it works, and if it doesn't, just pivoting and trying something else. I feel like
Right.
so many of us, that especially people that are kind of like coming from a corporate sort of mindset and background, we just think and think and think and think and plan and plan and plan. But in reality, I feel like the business friends that I have,
Hmm.
they don't think much at all. They come up with an idea, they immediately jump to validate their idea, and then they start making phone calls. They're
Yes,
making phone calls.
but here's the difference too. Yeah, making phone call. I'm glad you brought that up. And what helps me lead into this point, the difference between the corporate world, the way you have to be in a corporate world, and the way you have to be in the entrepreneurial world is, in the corporate world, your network is this big. Hey, John. Hey, Jerry. Hey, Jill. Hey, John. Hey, Jerry. Hey, Jill. So you see the same people every day. So your network
Right.
is big. Now, in the entrepreneurial world, you're making phone calls, your network is much bigger.
Yeah.
So your influence becomes bigger, your opportunities become bigger. There's more risk because you may not be getting
Mhm.
paid for 6 months or for a year or for a couple of years
Right.
while you're building it. So you need some money to live off of, or someone supporting you in order to be able. But ultimately, you're not just talking to John, Jerry, and Jill. You're talking to hundreds of people and thousands of
Yeah.
people. And so as your influence grows, people come to you, become the go-to person in a niche or in an
Yeah.
area, and people start thinking, you get in these calls, hey, Rafael, I was just thinking about you. Oh yeah, and so either because they saw your podcast or because they know you personally, and all of a sudden you get these opportunities that land in your lap you never thought they
Yeah.
would, because you're self-expressed. You share what you think, what you feel. People like you, they feel connected to you, and they think of you. But when you see the same people in the corporate world over and over again, all those hundreds of people don't even know you exist.
Yep.
So that's why the entrepreneurs tend to have more opportunities, obviously and naturally, and bigger opportunities because they think beyond this, the networks they build in a corporate world, safer, but you're less self-expressed often, and you have to fit in the mold and in the structure they created for you.
Right. Very good points. Absolutely, 100% agree. And you,
Hmm.
you mentioned a very important point. Your network is your net worth. In fact, the first time I ever came across this idea was I was a marketer myself back in the day. I used to follow Neil Patel.
Hmm.
I've even interviewed him a few times and chatted with him numerous times.
Hmm.
And I used to be a big reader of QuickSprout, which was his blog back in the day where he shared different types of marketing strategies, SEO, SEM, all these different things.
Hmm.
And he used to wrote some really, really interesting articles. The thing about QuickSprout that I liked a lot is that it wasn't just a marketing blog. It was his personal life, things he was learning, he was sharing. And I came across an article titled something along the lines of, basically the concept that he showed is that he did an experiment where he thought about the 5 people in his life over the past, like, I think he said 1 or 2 years, he has spent the most time around. And he went and he interviewed those 5 people. And
Hmm.
at some point in the interview, he asked, "Hey, how much money do you make?" And he took the averages of those 5 people.
Hmm.
And when he took that average, he was surprised to see that it was almost very much exactly what he was making. So he decided to try this and have another one of his friends try the same experiment with their group of 5 closest people that they spend the most time around. And again, that average predicted that person's income. So
Right.
after he ran this experiment a few more times, he started realizing, and he said that if you want to find out how much money you currently make, just take the 5 people in your life that you spend the most time around, take an average of their income, and that will be a good predictor of exactly how much money you're making today. Interesting experiment, but it shows highlights, underscores a very important point, is that Show me your friends and I'll show you your future. So you mentioned networking. You have to have those kind of right people in your circle in order for you to be exposed to those unknown unknowns. Otherwise, you will never know the things that you don't know.
Yeah, there's new information, new people, connections, possibilities. And those five people oftentimes bring you amazing referrals or opportunities, or you end up doing business with them, actually. I mean, who knows what it looks like. But you get connected to some very, like Neil Patel, like yourself, or other people that I've been connected to. You just so you're not Ralphie said in the beginning that we're self-made. And I would say that it's not that you're self-made. You create the future that you want through the relationships that you either have or you don't have right now. And so you're self-made through the relationships that you have with other people, right?
Mhm.
So you're not really completely self-made, but because you're designing the life you want by going outside your little circle of friends or your little corporate world into a much bigger world than that. Now the companies don't like that. They want you to stay, and oftentimes they give you even work at nighttime to keep busy, so you don't have time
Mhm.
for anything else, especially in the tech.
Right.
You're not working 40 hours a week. You're working 80 hours a week or 60 or some
Right.
100 hours a week because there's a lot of work to do and there's a lot of skill involved in it and but if you truly want to break and but the, to get more realistic, you know, becomes harder as you get older and as you get more responsibilities. You have family and kids, and bigger bills to pay if you got a home, and other bills, and maybe even medical issues and health issues. So it becomes more difficult to break away when you have more people depending on you. So that they can't, you don't pay the bills for the year. You lose your house, and
Yeah.
then kids and your wife or girlfriend, you have nowhere to stay. So it becomes tougher to break away. That's why oftentimes you see people when they're younger do it, because they have less responsibilities at that point. So
Awesome. That makes total sense.
yeah.
Antonio, we're almost at times. I've got just a couple more questions. The first question is, you've shared a lot of amazing nuggets and you've been a huge influence in my life. And to the point where I was like, okay, I got to bring this guy to my podcast. Like I want to get 10, 15, 20, 30, whatever more minutes from this guy, because the stuff that you shared with me in our first call that we ever had, I was just like, it was a lot. And you delivered that value. So I learned a lot. And I know there's other people out there that want to explore all these things, right? I get requests for AI stuff all the time. People ask me about cybersecurity, identity access management. People want
Mhm.
to learn how to build AI agents. People have all these different questions. And I know that you do some consulting work and stuff like that on the side as well. But if
Mhm.
someone has some questions, they want to hire you, they want to reach out to you, they want to get some advice from you. What is the best way people can reach?
Yeah. So the best way is to visit my website.
Okay.
And that's silverwisdomaisolutions.com. I'll
Okay. I'll link it in the description.
Okay. So yeah, silverwisdomaisolutions.com. And I believe you could even call me. Yeah, you can book a call and it goes to my calendar and you can set up a time with me. So
Awesome. Awesome. I'll definitely make sure to put those links in the description of this video once it comes out.
okay.
And one question I like to ask all of my guests
Mhm.
is, what is your favorite book of all time and why?
Okay. Let's see, there's so many. Uh, but I think the favorite one for me is it would have to be a Dale Carnegie book. I read it when I was much younger. It's called Think and Grow Rich.
Mm.
And
Napoleon Hill.
Napoleon Hill, yeah, the Napoleon Hill
Mm.
Foundation. And that book was, it made a big impact. It helped me understand some things I thought I understood, but I didn't, right? And you learn a lot about yourself, but also about, for me, what's possible through relationships and through and being more self-aware, right? And And so that I think that's the book I read the most in my life. So yeah.
Wow.
And meaning like
Beautiful one.
more than once. So yeah.
I'm a huge fan of Dale Carnegie myself.
Yeah.
One of the very first most influential books I've ever read was How to Win Friends and Influence People. And that book to me is still as
Mm.
close to a Bible of human relationships that we have today. He's dropped so many of core human relationship principles in there. For example, he talks about addressing people by their name. Their name is the sweetest sound to their ear. Use it as much as you can. He
Yes.
said things like that. I remember he mentioned at some point in the book that was also important. He said that talk to someone about themselves and they'll listen for hours. Those core principles, reciprocity, all these different things. I think he's an amazing author. So, and Napoleon Hill, same thing too. Think and Grow Rich. I did read that book as well a long time ago.
Mhm.
I didn't get as much out of that as you did, but I do remember it having an impact on me as well. But we're just at time, Antonio. Thank you again so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I definitely would look forward to bringing you back on the show in the future.
Awesome, Rafi. Thank you.
Absolutely. Have a good one.
You too. Bye.